well then.
Yeah.
And not messing around here.
No, and I think that Jason Bennett has a big edge in this matchup. They're playing with a lot of similar cards, but Jason goes much bigger, and assuming in a beatdown mirror, assuming one of the decks isn't substantially faster than the other, typically you want to be the slightly larger deck, and Jason's Big Naya deck definitely qualifies here.
I would say for Jason, it is very important for his deck to draw Sylvan Caryatid.
Yes.
Very important. No Elvish Mystics hanging out here. So he's got a lot of expensive spells, and the power level of his deck is through the roof. He's just got to make sure he can actually cast the spells on time. As here's a Soldier of the Pantheon from Arnold. He'll get the party started here. Bennett with just a stomping round before passing the turn back. So Jamie will take a draw here.
I feel very similarly about the junk lists. When those decks don't have Sylvan Caryatid, it's a mess a good portion of the time.
Got a Sacred Foundry. 16 here for Arnold. He's going to play a copy of Fleecemane Lion. So for Bennett, this is almost the crucial turn. Does he have a copy of Sylvan Caryatid? He's going to take 2, go down to 16, and he does. That's a big draw.
It's a good start for Jason. He's still got some ground to make up here. It's not even clear he has the luxury of blocking this turn out of the risk of something happening to his Caryatid, but he can start deploying some of his larger threats.
I would be a little bit scared to block, especially if he knows what he's up against. He knows he's playing against a deck that has Selesnya Charm as well as Goreclan Rampager, so blocking is probably going to be pretty difficult.
Well, the Fleecemane Lion he already can't block because it's a 3/3, and the Soldier of the Pantheon has protection from multicolor, so it's a safe block. Sometimes these decks randomly have Giant Growth or something along those lines, and you see Jason respects it enough to not block. But a block on the Soldier of the Pantheon is actually safe.
Down to 11 goes Bennett. He's going to play a copy of Courser of Krufix, see if we can find a land. It's a copy of Mizium Mortars. Does Bennett have a land in hand? He does. Stomping Ground is going to bring him up to 12. Just has to pass the turn back over to Arnold, who's going to cast Selesnya Charm on the end step. A 2/2 Knight is coming.
Now, the big thing for Jason next turn is, does he have one of his Haymaker 5, especially Archangel of Thune?
That would be the big one here. Goreclan Rampager right now in Arnold's hand. Again, can't target the Soldier of the Pantheon because it isn't multicolored. That card does have protection multicolored, and we go to the red zone. Soldier going to join us as well. Everybody coming in.
I'm interested to see if this no block from the last turn from Jason on that Soldier of the Pantheon ends up coming back to haunt him this game.
So block on the Soldier. See if there'll be any pumps on the other creatures. Can't Rampager the 2/1, and we'll go on to the Fleecemane Lion. So that'll be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points of damage. Bennett going to go down to 3. Just going to pass the turn back. You see Brave the Elements right now in Arnold's hand. There's an Ajani, Mentor of Heroes.
So can Jason do a little bit of work this turn, whittling down some of Jamie's board?
Well, this is a Mizium Mortars. This is an attempt. There's a Brave the Elements that says, I don't think so. Land's going to come into play. Bennett's going to go up to 4. Just has to pass the turn back. No real big Haymaker this turn. Arnold draws his card. It's time to get in the red zone. You see Arnold shift that Goreclan Rampager to the front of his hand. He's ready to Blood Rush that thing.
And those 2 points of damage are looking pretty significant now from that Soldier a couple turns back.
See what kind of blocks are going to take place here for Bennett, but I would like to assume that the Rampager's trample effect is probably going to be able to push through enough damage here. 7/7 Fleecemane Lion. I'm going to take care of the Courser. So 7 - 4 is 3. It's actually going to put him down to 1. And 1 is still not none. Going to pass the turn back. Don't know if he's going to be able to come back, though.
It's going to be tough, and there's, if nothing else, Boros Charms in Jamie's list. So not only does Jason have to try to stabilize from here, he also needs to win pretty quickly.
Going to cast a Xenagos. Make a Satyr token. Going to be on chump blocking duty again before passing the turn back. So Arnold will take a draw here. As you mentioned, Boros Charm will get the job done, and there it is. 4 damage going upstairs. Jamie Arnold wins game number 1 over Jason Bennett. Brave Naya winning game 1 over Big Naya, and Big Naya even had Sylvan Caryatid that game.
Jamie had a really good start on the play there. A 2/1 into a 3/3. Sylvan Caryatid couldn't really block profitably, and once you get into those couple hits, Brave Naya definitely has the ability to just dome you out, whether it's with Boros Charm or with Trample pump spell effects.
Yeah. Take a look at the sideboards here. We're going to start with Jason Bennett. I have that in front of me. 3 Mist Cutter Hydras, 3 copies of Nyx Loose Ram. That one seems pretty important. 2 Assemble the Legion, 2 copies of Deicide, a Banishing Light, 3 Anger of the Gods, and a Pithing Needle. Anger of the Gods also important, and it can probably actually take Arnold off guard here.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily anticipate it out of something like Jason's deck, but it is pretty potent here, and Jamie does not have a lot of threats that survive it. He has 3 copies of Loxodon Smiter and his Gore Clan Rampagers if he ends up hardcasting that, but Anger of the Gods could potentially be very good against Jamie.
I mean, now, of course, Jamie could craft a board state here where, he's able to cast a Boros Chart, make his creatures indestructible, or Brave the Elements, but I think this is a situation where he probably just won't see it coming. Anger of the Gods is a card that doesn't see a lot of standard play.
It's tough to anticipate, and it's one thing when you're playing against a deck like Blue, White, Red Control, where you think to yourself, okay, Anger of the Gods is another sweeper potentially in this person's sideboard. When your opponent's presenting creatures of their own, especially Sylvan Caryatid, it's much harder to have that card on your radar.
Other side of things, what do we see?
The same sideboard we saw before, 3 Keening Apparition, 3 Unflinching Courage, 2 Giant Growth, 3 copies of Dome Red, Glare of Heresy, and 3 Mizium Mortars. I think you're likely to see the additional creature removal come in, the Mizium Mortars, the Unflinching Courage, and possibly the Giant Growths as well. More pump spells. Jason needs to block in some of these games, and so Jamie's going to be well suited to have more access to pump spells post board.
Kind of interesting, actually, where Giant Growth is a card that I know that Brad is a big fan of in this deck, and it seems kind of weird to play that card, but it actually seems pretty potent.
I think that Giant Growth has been historically an underrated Magic card. It probably should have appeared in Constructed more frequently than it has historically, and going past that, Magic for a very long time was not about creatures attacking and blocking. If the games are like that at all, Giant Growth is a pretty efficient card most of the time. And now Standard Magic is in a place where attacking and blocking regularly happens. I'm very happy playing with Robo Baka in my mono red list. Giant Growth's a better version of that. And not surprising to see it in this Brave Naya sideboard as well.
Powerful. Powerful +3/+3 for 1 green mana. Something that you guys don't see right now as both these players are shuffling up. Patrick, you can take a look to your left there. You see Joe Lissette over the shoulder of CVM.
Yeah, he's got a lot of skin in this race, that's for sure. And if Joe is over on the rail that fast, it means most likely Joe lost.
Could have drawn.
I guess he could have drawn.
There's a decent chance he could have drawn just because coming into the round, he was pretty high up the standings because he lost later in the tournament, but he is over the edge of CVM watching him play. Hoping probably for a loss. Nothing malicious, of course. Those guys are pretty good friends, but it's competition time.
Yeah, and all those points matter. You never know what the point is going to be that ended up making the difference. So all the matches matter.
That is fun to watch. That is really fun to watch. Just get this bird on. Probably hoping CVM loses playing monsters. We'll see what happens. As soon as we know, of course, we'll let you guys know here at home. But we turn our attention to the match in front of us. Jason Bennett, Big Naya, Jamie Arnold with Brave Naya. We've seen things like this before. The thing that always sticks out to my head is Brian Kilber's Pro Tour win at Austin, where he was playing Big Zoo with Bane Slayer, Angel, and friends. And then everyone else was playing Little Zoo, and he just destroyed all the Little Zoo decks.
You often want to be a little bit bigger. Although Jamie's start that game was a good case in why you want to be the smaller deck. He got to the ground a little bit faster. He didn't really have to worry about his life total very much, whereas Jason had to be very careful with the order in which he was playing his Ravnica duels. But you want to be, generally speaking, the person with the Baneslayer Angel or the Archangel of Thune or what have you.
See if you can get one of those in play, because it's very difficult for the Brave Naya deck to beat you once you get one of your large haymakers in play.
Another big thing for Jason is getting a diversity of blockers in play in terms of color. That does a lot to take the sting out of Brave the Elements.
Yeah.
That game he was restricted in part because he was only playing green creatures to the table, and so Brave the Elements was lethal at any time Jamie developed some sort of board. If you can get, say, a Sylvan Caryatid and a Aurelia in play, let's say, then you have a lot of insurance against Brave the Elements.
Yep. That'll be one of the plans here. Again, Jamie Arnold does win game number 1. Jason Bennett will be on the play for game number 2. Winner of this match, elimination rounds later today and potentially tomorrow morning, where we'll, of course, we'll be giving away premium. 3 months in the quarterfinals this evening. We'll come back tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 a.m. East Coast time. Give away 6 months in the semis, the full 12 in the finals, and then do a winner's interview in the sideboard with Nick Miller before we start our legacy action.
And it looks as though, if nothing else, we've locked at least one Naya deck into the elimination round.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
7 cards for each. We'll see if Both players can keep them. Again, Sylvan Caryatid huge for Jason's deck. A lot of powerful cards here that he can accelerate to, and they are much better ahead of schedule.
In some ways, it's just a more aggressive take on Jeff Hoolan's junk list.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the same elements are here, a lot of the same strategy, but you have some haste threats instead of things like Blood Baron of Vizkopa and Obsidian.
Temple of Plenty here from Arnold. You saw Bennett play Stomping Ground on turn number 1. Scry is going to leave the top card on top for Jamie before passing it back over to Jason, who draws a copy of Courser of Kruphix. Going to play a Mana Confluence. Does he have the Caryatid? Going to take 1, go down to 19. Looks like he does again. That's mighty important. It's actually Nixley's Ram, so never mind. That's okay, too.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Finally, it's camera debut.
Dig in.
Yeah.
This one might take a while.
Gonna undo the work of that Mana Confluence, that's for sure. That feels like an enchantment to me.
The art definitely carries the day, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
That feels like an enchantment. Arnold gonna go down to 18 here from the Sacred Foundry. Just pass the turn back, representing Selesnya Charm, Boros Charm, a bevy of other things.
I am having a nightmare watching this card in play.
Oh, well, you can't possibly win.
I'm not beating this card, that's for sure.
No. Get used to it. It's not going anywhere for a while here. There is Selesnya Charm. That is a nice 2-2 in this board.
Yeah. Showed up to the wrong party, it looks like.
Yeah. Well, there is Reed Duke. He's going to have a struggle getting through these guys, though.
There's a lot of pump spells in the Brave Nihilist, but there's a lot of walls he has to contend with as well. And Jason can also just say no blocks in a lot of these spots and let the board develop a little bit before he starts to block.
You saw Bennett miss his land drop, and the Nixley's Ram did try to get in the way, but a Goreclad Rampager is going to eat that. But, I think you're actually okay with that exchange, honestly. You get rid of a Goreclad Rampager, sure, you lose your Ram, but that's Arnold's entire turn.
Yep.
I
And
probably don't mind that too much.
Jason just needs some breathing space here, you know? That's the most important thing. Just allow his mana and his cards to develop. So all the time he gets is very, very valuable.
Of course, you're going to come in, going to gain a life here. Pretty big change of things there for Bennett, able to find some lands as he was stuck for a little while there. Yeah, an attack, and now another Goreclad Rampager going to take down the Courser. How do you feel about these immediate blocks?
I like it. Just at some point, Jason has to block with his cards anyway because that's what he does. And the higher his light total is and the more powerful the threats he plays after Jamie has used up all of his pump spells, the better off he is. So
You saw a second Goreclad Rampager take down that Courser of Kruphix. Advent of the Worm right now in Bennett's hand, along with Banishing Light and Xenagos as well. So he's working his way towards those very powerful cards. The question is, when does he want to cast them?
I think that I like playing Advent this turn.
There's no way he could have a third pump spell, right?
And even if Jamie goes monsters with Fleecebane Lion, Advent still checks that.
Yeah,
So,
5/5 versus a 4/4.
yeah.
You don't mind. And there's a Banishing Light. Looks like he wants to take care of the Fleecebane Lion, however. Get that thing out of the way. Going to take 1 so he can leave Sylvan Caryatid back on defense. The question here is if Arnold attacks, is he blocking?
Well, the way he's done this, he certainly is. I'm not sure if that's necessarily the play he wanted, but he's priced himself into blocking the way he's taking a point of damage off that Mana Confluence.
It's almost like he's forced to block now.
Yeah, I believe he is.
But maybe not. You saw Arnold not attack, so doesn't have to block. So a good play there from Bennett. If I'm Jamie, I feel like I'm attacking there every time.
He may have said they attacked.
Yeah, there's a chance of that.
It's a vigilance creature, so sometimes someone goes attack and the other person says block, so.
Another copy of Sylvan Caryatid before passing the turn back over to Arnold. He's got a Boros Reckoner out there. That one, Bennett can't really block. Temple Guard in the draw here, working his way towards Mizium Mortars. Needs one more red source of mana. In we go with both creatures. Does Jamie Arnold. Again, consistent with Bennett's behavior, he is blocking yet again. Will we cast a Selesnya Charm? We will. +2/+2 and trample to Reed Duke. Bye-bye Caryatid. 4 damage is going to come across. Bennett going to go down, to 11. Temple Guard looks like it's going to come into play tapped, and it will before passing the turn back over to Bennett. Picks up a draw. It's another copy of Nick's Fleece Ram.
The Ram is a great draw here. Gets to check that Boros Reckoner.
Arnold draws his card. That's a Mana Confluence. Almost played it. Slowed down. He wants to be able to trap him with the Mizzy Mortar's Overload.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get any sort of block here with the Nyx Fleece Land and then ram, and then Mizzy Mortars can finish the job.
Blocking has been very consistent with Bennett's behavior. There are your blocks. No damage going to come across, but Mizzy Mortars is certainly going to finish things off here. 6 mana. I wouldn't mind taking 2 to kill both those creatures.
It's got to be worth it. And Jason with Selesnya Charm in hand, but that's not enough to save the ram here, as the Reckoner dealt 3, and now Mizzy Mortars is dealing 4.
Oddly enough, he's not going to be able to save either creature,
Yep.
as the Reduke token dealt 2. And then he gets his creature +2/+2. It's 5 on defense. So if he Selesnya Charms here, he actually doesn't save either guy.
No, it's to no effect here.
Yeah, I think he's going to float the mana, maybe cast a Charm in the end step for a 2/2, but that's about all he can do.
That's still not shabby here. It does give him a blocker. If he can find some sort of answer to this Boros Reckoner, he's in okay shape.
Yeah, looking for a Banishing Light. There's a Temple of Plenty. Also has Course of Crufix in his hand as well. Work towards gaining a little bit of life here. You also see the Archangel of Thune, so
There's a plan. There's definitely a plan. It's just, can he get there?
gonna take 1 for Mana Confluence. That's chipping away at his life total. There is the Courser. Top cards of Mizzy Mortars. This is a Temple of Plenty. Gonna go up to 10. That Mortar's gonna stay on top or go to the bottom. Looks like it's gonna stay on top.
A little surprising there. He needs mana.
In we go with both creatures. Arnold's been attacking the entire time. So we got some blocks here. There's a Gore Clan Rampager. So a bunch of damage is going to take place here. We'll see what happens with when the dust settles. The redo tokens will trade. Boros Reckoner went over at Courser. Down to 5 goes Bennett.
And this is why I was not a big fan of keeping the Mortars on top. It's not really a reprieve to what Jason is losing to right now, which is an absence of land drops. And
my goodness.
Oh,
I'm Brave the Elements there. Has to pass the turn back. He might be in the hard lock now. The Boros Reckoner hard lock where you can't block it. Goes down to 3. Excuse me, it takes 3, goes down to 2. Follow-up is locks it on Smiter. And I'm not sure if Bennett has a way out of this. Draws a copy of Temple of Abandon. Gonna play that, gonna scry. But he's gonna end the game with his big spells in his hand. A Xenagos, an Advent of the Worm, and an Archangel of Thune that he was never able to deploy.
I question the value of Xenagos in this matchup. It doesn't really seem like a card that's going to be good unless Jason is already winning the game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. He's gonna tap some mana and extend the hand. Jamie Arnold wins this match over Jason Bennett. 2-0. Brave Naya taking down Big Naya. All those pump spells, too much to take.
And Jason could just not ever get out on the front foot. He had a lot of powerful threats in his deck, but he was just under duress the entire time, losing his mana creatures, taking a lot of damage off of that Mana Confluence, and Jamie was able to steal the game before Jason was able to deploy any of his large threats.
Yeah, just a tough game there for Bennett. Again, Sylvan Curates is so important to his deck, and you can only imagine how the games go when he doesn't have it.
Right.
You know, that's the thing that worries me about the Big Naya deck. I like the power level of it for sure. That's a deck that I feel like needs 8 accelerants.
Well, in the post-board games, in the most aggressive matchups at least, he has access to Nyx Fleece Ram and Anger of the Gods, so he can sort of slow down the game that way. I do agree that game 1, it seems, if he doesn't have that card, he's probably just spending too many games where he doesn't do anything for the first couple turns.
Yeah, spinning his tires, as it were. But either way, Brave Naya, Brad Nelson, I know you're testing for Pro Tour Journey into Nyx. That's happening next week. Well, you did it, buddy. 1 is through. Into the top 8. Potentially the #1 seed.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Say again?
So congratulations to Brad. Pretty impressive. He's
Yeah.
been a pretty loud advocate for this deck, and here it is on its way to the elimination rounds.